You can't take it with you when you're gone, so how do you make the most of it while you are here? It's time for Your Money Matters with Sam and Dieter from Harness Financial.
Good to see you again, Sam.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
Who's your guest?
Mark Skelly of Red Hot.
Red Hot what, Mark?
Red Hot everything, Sean. Red Hot business coaching and consulting mostly.
All right. Look, the notes say we're going to talk about, what did you call them, unicorn business? Am I a unicorn?
Yeah, you are, yeah. How much of a unicorn? Well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
Today is about the lifeblood of our economy, New Zealand's business owners. And here's the premise of our conversation. 97% of businesses in New Zealand are small, less than 20 employees. I suppose the platform would sit there.
Yeah, we're banging it.
They account for 29.3% of New Zealand's GDP. Obviously, the platform is a bit higher proportion. New Zealand's small business owners are typically very bad at retiring or moving into roles within their business where the business can function without them. This is because they are the business, even at age 50 or 60 plus. It creeps up on them and they're not ready for it. They can't afford it. They believe falsely that their business isn't sellable and they haven't prepared it for sale. This is quite troubling because if you either are forced to sell in a fire sale scenario due to poor health or some other unforeseen circumstance, or reach ideal retirement but can't sell, you have probably left hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of value on the table of past plans you never made. At Harness Financial, we make sure that you're insured against the unforeseen, but how do you insure against the foreseen? You engage someone like Mark Skelly.
Ooh.
Talk to us, Mark.
What a great intro.
Talk to us about the typical New Zealand unicorn.
Cool. So what's interesting, when you invited me today, you wanted to talk about how businesses get stuck in that hard to sell, can't sell place. And in my experience, so we've been doing this 20 years, right? Coaching owner-managed businesses. And the thing you mentioned before, Sean, was really interesting in the lead up to today. You mentioned that you were sick for a week and you were a little bit grateful that when you were sick, the team carried things on, but you were a little bit pissed off because they carried things on.
I wouldn't have done it a year ago.
Yeah.
I would have tried to battle through.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have any choice. We had 3 or 4 people sick last week, and I said, well, I've just got to do this.
Yeah.
And I actually, deep inside, felt this is quite a test as to whether or not I've built a business or a cult of personality.
Yeah.
You know?
And so what's interesting for me is what I call the superhero complex.
Yeah.
And so the overwhelming characteristic about small business and medium business owners in New Zealand is we're all busy, right? You're busy. You've got lots to do. There's never a moment spare.
Yeah.
There's always the next thing. And that's the overarching characteristic of most business owners. It's not what they went into this to do.
Yeah.
You didn't to start this to get busier.
No.
We all started this to try and get less busy, but the reverse tends to happen. And what comes from that is this addiction from being a superstar. You're the man. You get shit done. You deliver the results. Someone's got a problem, they come to you, you fix it.
Yeah.
And so we get into this habit, and I see it again and again and again of, despite wanting more free time and more things to do that in our personal lives, you know, we unzip the jacket, we open the chest, and the big S comes out, and Super Sean and Super Sam, we'll solve the problem.
I have to do it myself. No one else could possibly have the insight of the
and we
brilliant side.
don't believe it, and your realization last week of like, holy shit, this is a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe I'm not that important. Is a realization not everyone gets until too late.
I must admit, I'm fortunate to have a director who has said this to me for a year and a half, 2 years. We have to have a plan for you not being on the tools.
Do yourself out of a job.
Yeah. I'm thinking, though, awful lot of these enterprises we've talked about, guys, will be tradies. People are running electrical businesses, plumbing businesses and everything, and they've grown a bit and are running a kind of network of people. That'd be your classic small business, wouldn't it? And those guys get to a time where physically they can't.
Well, you would think so, right?
Yeah.
And you're right. That definitely fits our demographic. But I'd say this goes well beyond.
Tradies.
So one of my other hats is I'm the president of the Chamber of Commerce in the Hutt Valley, and so that's an $8 billion industry or economy, right? $1 billion of that's trades.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So $7 billion's other things.
Okay.
Manufacturing, tech, research, science. So our perspective of business gets a little bit skewed, right? Most people think about business, they look at retail.
That's right.
Look up.
Totally.
If you're in the middle of Wellington, look up. That's where business is, not the ground floor.
How far out from thinking that you are going to get out of your business or you're going to retire if you're running your own small business? How long does it take to plan for that transition? When should you start thinking about it?
That is an awesome question. Not when you start.
Okay.
That's controversial, right? But start with the end in mind and have an end game, and that's for some businesses that's great, right? For a lot of businesses, it's just wasting time. Actually, when you start a business, your first job's go get some customers,
make some sales,
make things work, and that's where your priority should be.
Yep.
And get started. Having end goal is a good mind, but don't put too much energy at the start. The problem is that people stay in that phase. They stay in that what I call the sales phase, which is sell, sell, sell. Get customers, deliver, get customers, deliver, get customers, deliver, and that's what keeps people stuck. And because it's really hard when you're busy delivering results and delivering sales and delivering products and delivering to customers. Do you find time to do something else?
Do you like the phrase "work on the business" rather than work in the business?
Absolutely, yeah.
What does that mean? Because people throw that around a lot.
So working on your business is the effort you put into your business during your work day. That's not about generating money for that week.
Right.
It's a thing that's going to make your life easier and or more profitable and or easier to exit in the future. And so the problem is if you give a busy person more work to do, they fill up.
Yeah.
And we run out of discretionary energy. So it's easy to be busy doing the thing we have to do. It's really hard to stay productive doing the things that we could put off.
Yeah.
And it's those things we could put off that we do put off.
Now, I just have to ask you, Sam. So, Sam, you sit there in Harness Financial, ring us, we'll solve your problems, sort your insurance, do your finances, draw your plan up for it. But you obviously can't do everything. That's why this guy's sitting in the studio with you today. Are you saying that this is someone you would call on? There are special strategies and parts of developing or selling or moving on in a business that you're not the expert at?
100%, and that's really how we operate in general. We're not going to, try and do someone else's job for them. When we sit down and review a client's financial position, see how their trajectory matches up with their goals and plans, and they're a business owner, more often than not, we don't see a pathway for them to either exit the business through sale, or to move into a passive role and still generate income. Now, your goal might be to stay in your business until 83 or 93, but that needs to be sustainable for you, your wife, your kids, your grandkids, and your staff and your shareholders. Needs to work, and you've got to plan that.
How often, I'm really fascinated by this, maybe it's where my head is at. How often do people choose, if you like, their successor from within their business or within their staff? And is that successful? And how do you go? Is there a process for going through that?
Yeah, quite frequently, really frequently, actually. And I've worked with a lot of clients that have done just that. Size of the business is an important factor into how easy that becomes, and who you're choosing. So often the idea of having a staff member or a manager take over seems appealing because you can realise the cash. The problem is how many younger managers have the cash to buy your business, and that becomes often the stumbling block. And so then you get into some vendor finance arrangements where you're still owning the business and you've loaned some money to the new person, so you're not really free because you've got this vested interest. But it's absolutely an effective way of doing it though, because you're now handing the business over to somebody, or at least giving more control to somebody you've trained, you've supported, you've grown, and if you start that early, really successful way of exiting or part exiting a business.
Yeah.
With the vendor finance piece, it's a recipe for disaster if you do it wrong.
Yeah.
Right. The number of times we see some kind of, napkin arrangement in place, it's crazy. You got to get advice from someone like Mark, from the accountant. Yeah. You got to have your legal contracts drawn up.
It can't be he said, but he told me in the smoko room 2 years ago that if that,
and you got to plan for how it won't work if it doesn't work.
Oh,
so if you go down the path of, hey, I'm gonna get Sam to take over my business, and it's great, and we're all mates, and it's fantastic, and we start well, and then Sam drops the ball
or drops dead.
How do we get out of this arrangement?
Yeah.
So the legal agreements, every time I've seen this work, The legals are clear, the exit's clear. When it doesn't,
Okay.
it doesn't.
Now, I don't know why Gail's asked this, but she has, and I'm just going to pass it on to you. Can you ask the guys about sole charge businesses?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So sole charge business is you, right? And,
Yeah.
and if you say sole charge, I'm assuming you mean sole trader.
Yeah.
And if you're a sole trader, the asset value is typically pretty low.
Okay.
Because who am I buying if you're not there? What am I buying if you're not there? I'm not buying a lot.
Okay.
Probably what I'm buying is some form of client base, some kind of sales
Contact book.
history, some
Yeah.
kind of contact book. Maybe you got some contracts, some supplier relationships.
Yeah.
But the challenge is if somebody's buying a business, they're buying an asset that's going to continue to produce
Yeah.
income. And if you're not there, what am I buying?
It's
Okay.
very
A real
easy to
challenge.
insure that risk, but it's not that insuring is not the same as planning to get out.
Yeah.
I will say with buy sell and shareholder purchase agreements, insurance is a good way of managing that, but it only manages the situation where someone gets ill, injured, or dies.
Yeah.
It doesn't manage a situation
Protect
where
your
you've got a
family more than you,
gradual share purchase arrangement.
Yeah.
Here's a text from a guy I've been talking to for years on the radio on various jobs. And I know he works bloody hard because most often he rings me in the mornings and he's already out in the tools. Dave the Bricky from Christchurch, which many listeners would know.
Awesome.
Sean, I'm in exactly that position, 57 years old, and my business is all entirely our skills.
Yep.
There is precious little other asset, and so generally I feel the business is relatively worthless when I retire, says Dave.
Yeah.
Now, that feeling that he's got, is that valid, or is there a way to work around that, or is there stuff he's not seeing?
So is it valid where he is right now? Quite probably.
Yeah.
And the question then is, what's a non-traditional sales strategy? So my father is a classic example. He was a sole trader. He had a great little business. He ran it for 20 odd years, and at the end he decided he would just close it down, and he just wanted to close it down because it was going to be easy. What he did have, he had a really strong network of clients. He had lots of repeat business. He had a business that somebody else could plug into. So basically, he was going to sell somebody a job. Now, is that going to be worth $1 million? No. But it would have made that next little contribution to Dad's retirement fund? Absolutely. Had he started earlier and been thinking about that, he probably could have found somebody to take that over. And your Bricky might be similar, right? It's the actually there'll be a lot of intellectual property in that business and networks that if he started and handed it across, now would every client move across? No, because they like Dave the Bricky. Yeah. But will there be some clients that would move across? Would there be some relationships? So there's value in there. It's just it's not the traditional, I'm going to sell my business, get a large nest egg and bugger off type value. It's a different equation.
I know at Harness you guys are about the numbers and making sure the numbers work and they're the best numbers you can get for your life, for your plan. But it strikes me there's also something very personal about a business and a small to medium enterprise that someone has built themselves. And at some stage, and I guess I'm starting to think in the back of my head this is going to happen, you've got to let go. You've got to realise it's not your business anymore and it's going to change and it's going to develop in a way that you don't have any control over and may not be aligned with the original vision you had when you set it up.
Yeah.
It's like having kids.
Yeah.
You know, eventually you've got to let those kids go and you've got to let them start their own families, you know, and you've got to bless that. Because if you don't, then you become the worst kind of parent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's also, I mean, the word that Sam and Deta would talk about a lot is risk, right? And they're about minimising risk and protecting risk and outsourcing the protection of risk. But actually, when you're talking about letting somebody else take over control of your business, you've got to invite risk in.
Yeah.
And you know, no one's going to run the platform better than you if they don't get a chance to practice while you're still here.
But you
And
can
if
invite risk in strategically,
Absolutely,
can't you?
yeah. Not reckless, not gambling. But you got to let somebody fail. You got to let somebody have the
Sharon's
opportunity to
texted
get
and
it wrong.
said, how far out before selling should you start this planning?
Yes.
What's a good rule of thumb there?
Look, there isn't a number, Sean. But it's not the year before. And so I'm talking to somebody at the moment, and that was introduced to me, and they're looking at selling, but they're looking at selling now because they're just done. They're over it. They're finished. They're tired, and because they've been tired for a while, performance has dropped. Because performance has dropped, financials have dropped. Because the financials have dropped, it's a vicious circle. Who wants to buy that? No one. So you've got to think about selling before you want to sell.
And you've got to think about your energy levels.
Yeah.
And if you like, the lifeblood of the business where it's at. I get you, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. So for the huge number of small, medium enterprises out there that are owner-operated at some stage and people are going to have to move on because that's what happens with life.
Yeah.
How do they get hold of you? How do they start this journey off, Sam?
Well, you can get hold of Harness Financial at harnessfinancial.co.nz, or you can call Dita directly or me on 027 334 4812. Any referral that comes through or messages come through for Mark, we'll pass it on to Mark straight away. But Mark, your details are?
Yeah, look, so my website's redhot.co.nz, and the best thing you can do is jump on there, and there's a free report we've got which just explains why you're stuck. Yep. So if you're feeling like you're stuck, if you're feeling like you're working too hard, jump on the website, download the report. It's free. It's like 20 pages. It's not a big read, but it might just really show you what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, can you hang on? Because look, Dave's coming. Dave, why don't you pick up the bloody phone and give us a ring? Because
Come on, Dave.
So Dave's saying, so obviously I'd be looking for a skilled brickie.
Yeah.
To sell the possibly biggest asset I have, my client list.
Yep.
I see the sense, but it's a very small buyer market generally, and skilled brickies would have solid client contracts already.
Yeah.
Dave, just ring him. We'll do the consult now, for God's sake, and I'll charge you later.
It's so funny how he said his client list.
Yeah.
Because from my perspective, as a salesperson, it's not the client list that's worth heaps of money. It's the fact that he got a client list in the first place. How did he do it?
Yeah.
How did he do it? You know, there's a lot of people that can't get clients.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually worth a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And it's not a list, it's a relationship.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing probably for a small business too is you do not realise the value of what you have because you've been doing it for so long. And I find this in journalism. People say, you know so many people. You can walk into a room, you can connect with all these people. That's worth huge amounts. And if I was in PR, it would be, and I'd be selling it. But you do realise that's the value you have. You know?
So it's the choice between the value you want, no value, and what's in the middle ground.
Is Dave, try again. I know, we got him. We got him there. We've got him here. Okay. Doesn't matter that we run over time. We got time. Dave, how are you, mate? I'm going to get you out of work.
Yeah, good. Good, Sean. How are you? Well, I've been looking for an exit strategy for quite a while now, buddy.
Okay. Well, I've got Steve and I've got Sam here.
Mark and
Sam. Mark and Sam.
We
sorry.
can call you Steve, though.
Mark Skelly and Sam here. Shoot, just have a chat with them. Away you go, Dave.
Yeah, good. So, look, it's something, you know, at 57 years old, I'm quietly climbing closer to my KiwiSaver in retirement, and the idea of being able to retire a couple of years early certainly appeals to me. But I've always thought exactly that. I mean, my entire business is the fact that I'm a current LBP, and I have the skills to fill up the hole in your wall with bricks that, you know, not many other people do. Now, all of the colleagues that I have worked alongside all run pretty solid contracts, and so really my client list is looking for an out-of-work brickie.
Yeah. Look, the problem you've got is the bricks are getting heavier every year, right? So
you're not wrong there.
So the question for you is I guess there's two parts. One could be, can you find somebody else in your industry that is a great brickie, but as Sam said, it's that business side that they're not as strong at? That actually having a really solid hand across to some more clients and understanding how you price and how you do it would be valuable. So, they're a brickie. They've got some clients, but where's that extra value? And it might not be. This might not be your $1 million. It might not be your $500,000, but maybe it's $100,000. Maybe it's $50,000. Maybe it's $10,000. But it's better than nothing.
Yeah, look, I know exactly what you mean. You know, like exactly that, 20, 50 grand. You know, for an effective client list, basically, is what you're selling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going back to something that actually used to be on a balance sheet many years ago called goodwill.
You got it.
You know, so look, there are people out there like that. They generally work for wages for other guys that are running bigger contracts.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't have the gumption to go out and nail it on their own, or the ability to back themselves.
Yeah.
And of course, I'll tell you something else that has actually chased a huge amount of guys heading around my age out is bloody compliance, and so and health and safety, et cetera, and so then you're sort of scaring younger guys that are developing skills, I suppose.
And you've got that stuff figured out, right?
I mean, I see the logic in it because you know, parking up all my tools and then selling them off after they've done 15 to 20 years service is no bloody value in that.
Imagine if you'd started and you'd had a guy in your position say, Hey, look, I'll help you run the thing for the first year. I'll be by your side. I'll go and meet all the clients with you. I'll hand you across. I'll take you through the health and safety stuff. I'll show you where to buy your gear from.
Mate, you're not alone in the compliance and health and safety complaint. But I'll tell you one thing, right? What we're seeing around New Zealand as a whole is we are becoming more mature in terms of compliance and health and safety and things like this. It is difficult to be a sole trader and a small business in this current environment, because you need the infrastructure around you to hand over those non-income producing tasks to someone else, so that you can go and have that coffee with the client, talk about their job, and then go and get the job done for them. You know, but you've got to identify what's the tasks that you do through the week that are important, but they're not going to make you money. They're not going to pay your stuff.
Actually, guys, for all of you, I just got this text through, and this kind of comes full circle. This is how we connect people, I think, in business. What's the best way for a younger person who wants to buy the business? How do they get the bank to even look at them? So now we're talking about all parts of this equation coming together, guys.
Yep.
Well, give that guy my phone number.
Such a good question.
Sure, look, we'll take it in the middle. It is tricky, right? It's hard to borrow against a business, and particularly in today's banking environment. Banks don't want to lend money for almost anything, let alone something as risky as a business purchase. And so that's where often there are surprising ways to find funds. So one might be family. Yeah. Often, actually, there is somebody in your family who goes, you know what, I'll give you that chance. I'll give you that chance.
Yeah.
Second thing would be, if you're super aggressive, go and get some credit. Go find some more creative ways of finding some money.
Yeah.
And the third way we talked about was that vendor finance route. Yeah. So again, it's a risky, but again, if I'm thinking about it, Dave, and I'm thinking, well, I'm either going to stop and close this thing down and get nothing for it, or I'm going to sell it to this young guy who wants to take it over. He might cock it up and I get nothing. He might wake at work and I get something. It's as an end game for the sole trader into this market. It's a better end game than just going, it's too hard.
I don't want to speak for New Zealand's mortgage brokers because I can't, but I can say some general things. I will say it is almost always possible to get finance, but sometimes it's not through a bank, right? And banks have lower interest rates. You're leveraged against property. There are specialist business lenders that will lend for higher interest rates to enable you to buy into a business.
Hey, fascinating discussion today, guys. Really, really interesting. And obviously, given the feedback we've got and all the texts we've got, it is something that people are thinking about, and you've got the figures there. That's why people are interested.
Can I just say one more thing, Sean?
Yeah.
I just want to say, if you're a business owner, thank you. You know, you are the backbone of New Zealand's economy, and you do amazing work, and you should be celebrated and you should be appreciated. And I know that sometimes, this country doesn't make it easy for you to do business, and that sucks. But if we come together and appreciate each other, we're all going to be better for it.
Yeah, harness.co.nz or harnessfinancial.co.nz and redhot.co.nz, guys. If you're thinking about transitioning your business, if you want to get into a business, if you and the boss want to do a deal and a transition deal, these are the guys to talk to. Dave, thank you for ringing in. Dave, the first thing you need to do after all these years is actually marry your girlfriend. All right. That's the show.
Your Money Matters with Sam and Dieter from Harness Financial. To make the most out of your money, visit harnessfinancial.co.nz.